Hi, this is the devotion for Wednesday, April 29th. I am Pastor Elizabeth Liggett. I serve as a hospice chaplain for St. John's United Hospice, as well as a pastor at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church here in Billings. As I found through a lifetime of serving churches, when you hang out with church ladies, you end up dealing with quilts and sometimes acquiring quilts. Behind me is the latest quilt that my husband and I received. It was a gift to us from one of our church friends when we moved here to Billings from Kansas just a few years ago. I'm going to step out and just let you have the opportunity to just gaze at that. I love it because it is so colorful, and I thought you might enjoy that color. We love having that color on our wall. Now, it might just look like a colorful jumble, but there's actually a rhyme and a reason to the placement of the blocks. I want you to think about the colors and look at the whole. It actually evokes the 4 seasons. Look at it for a moment. Can you discern the seasons? Look first at the lower left-hand corner. You see it's a little darker. There are some browns and russets in there. That is evocative of fall. Then just go to your right, the lower right hand. There are reds along with the greens. Christmas colors, that's winter. Then go diagonally to the upper left. Particularly in the far left corner, there are rather lighter pastel colors, lilac and lighter green, evocative of spring. And then go right to the upper right, a little darker greens, a little more vivid colors. That is summer. But I'd like to give you an even closer look. There are lots of details in many of these blocks that I find quite charming, and I'd like to give you a tour of some of them. So first, we're going to go down and take a closer look at the fall. And you see there's browns and, of course, the red of leaves. Look at those puppy faces there. Then you go over, you see the deer here. Move just farther, and here's a very colorful bird. You go down, see our owl. And then there is, if I can find it, there is a windmill somewhere. Oh, way down here. There's our windmill and some fall crops. All right. Then we're going to go over to winter, and you can see that now we have reds. See my red squares and another dog there. Then we have the lute and the horn, the drum, Christmas, some Christmas patterns, ivy, snow kinds of things. I love the cardinals, which stand out so much in the winter. More ivy and berries. And then you come down, more Christmas-like fabrics and the pine cones. There we go. That's winter. Now we're going to move up to spring. And again, look at the colors in that corner. The lilacs and the lighter greens. There's lots of flowers. Lots of flowery things here. In the spring, think of lilacs with the purple. And birds. A hummingbird. And just down from there a little bit, we have some butterflies. And then we go to summer and the deeper colors. And I love some of the tiny details in here. Let's see what summer things we can find, what crops. Ah, look at those. They're vegetables. It's asparagus and maybe some wheat, some fields and trees. Then look at root vegetables, carrots. I don't know if those are radishes or beets or whatever. And then this sweet block with the sheep and the cows and the roosters and apples. And to the left of there, we have a barn and all the summer glory of the crops. In several places are sunflowers. My friend is from Kansas, and the state flower of Kansas is the sunflower. So those are some of the many, many fun details here. All right, now we're going to go back and look at the quilt as a whole. And while we're getting that set up, I want to read for you or talk to you a little bit about 1 Peter. In the book of 1 Peter, the writer uses the images of stones built around a cornerstone as a metaphor for the Christian church built around the cornerstone of Christ. I love that image of blocks being built into a building, but I think that also works for fabric building blocks, a quilt, which is also a metaphor for community. Seen as a whole, a quilt is just a beautiful jumble. But you take the time to look and you can discern patterns such as our seasonal pattern. But then you slow down, take a closer look, pay attention to the details that contribute to the whole. And in those blocks, you'll find characteristics and stories and individuality you wouldn't have noticed without slowing down and being attentive. There's a lot to appreciate in a piece like this. In 1 Peter 2:9, the writer tells his people, "You are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people who are God's own possession. You have become this people so that you may speak of the wonderful acts of the one who called you out of darkness into his amazing light." Out of darkness into his amazing light. If you look at this whole quilt, where is the center of the quilt? Do you notice? Can you tell? Right in the center is this block. You've got the blue that stands out, and then the burst of the color that goes all out from there. I like to think of that as divine light, as God's amazing light bursting out into the corners and the seasons of creation, reaching out to the whole creation. We each are precious, and together we make up a beautiful whole. And so we care about and care for one another, who all together are part of God's gracious and beautiful whole. As the writer continues, once you weren't a people, but now you are God's people. Once you hadn't received mercy, but now you have received mercy. We are God's gift in this beautiful, gifted world. Live in and live out of that mercy. Amen.